relationships are complex, as you know. So
Oh yeah.
there is a complex, there's no recipe for it. So people who are listening in who go, yeah, like that's right. There is, if you're in that situation and go, well, what do I do? All I can tell you is after journeying through these complex situations, you can only do your best at the time, not to beat yourself up, but if you're self-sacrificing your health, your physical health, your mental health, and the risk of those that you love being harmed, there is no grounds for movement there. You just got to claim. It's like you've got to plant your flag and go and say, okay, this is, and then spend your time then finding out who you are in your essence. It's not that person you even were when you were that young girl, that at that time of that trauma, at that time when these people, when naysayers and upset you. Who are you now?
Right.
Warning. As a medical doctor, I must inform you that there are side effects to this coaching session. Beware. It may enhance your self-esteem, cause you to experience vibrant health, encounter long-term weight loss, heal damaged relationships. Warning, there are side effects to this coaching session. It may increase your enthusiasm for life and bring about hope. It may cause you to have productive and optimistic thinking. It could even help you not allow messed up people to ruin the rest of your life and help you realize the masterpiece that you are and empower you to be the boss of your brain. Warning, these side effects may be long-term. This is Dr. Isabel from Doctoronamission.com.
Hi, Annie. How are you doing?
I am so well, Dr. Isabel. Great to catch up with you again today.
Oh, please call me Isabel, not doctor.
I just love the doctor bit, who doesn't love a doctor across the ditch, as your friend? I love it.
Well, do you want me to call you Nurse Annie?
No, thanks.
So tell me, how are you doing in Australia?
Look, I think we're doing very well. Our government has certainly managed COVID to a incredible high value on health, which is amazing. Health definitely does rule in Australia over economy. And so I'm in Sydney, Australia, and after like 100 days of lockdown, we got released yesterday. It's like, so we're all like pretty supercharged, and it's just so funny. What do you do when you're just released, right? People do funny different things. Some people have been inside so long, they're like, I'm not too sure if I can go out yet. And then there's other people who have been queuing for like 2 hours just to go to Kmart. Like, who wants to go to Kmart? Everyone's had that opportunity to buy whatever they want online. So it's a really interesting psychology of what would you do when you're first released,
Yeah, it's like a bird being released from the cage. Like, how far can I fly,
Where will I go? I don't know. But the serious thing is, obviously just, the tragedy that has been the effect of COVID and so many lives lost and but we're now we're heading towards 80% vax. So we've really sprung into gear now and I think we'll feel a lot more comfortable moving forward. So
Yes. And here in New Zealand, the goal is 95% vax. So
incredible.
She's got big goals. Big goals.
She must have big goals and a big stick.
You said it, I didn't. You're so funny. All right. Well, listen, how about if I introduce you to our listeners? Is that okay, Annie?
Oh, I'd love to meet your listeners.
Because I don't want to forget to do that. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Isabel, your host here at MD and Chef Team. And I want to introduce to you Annie Gibbins. She is an amazing woman. She is such an overcomer. And I'm just going to share a little bit about her. And then we're just going to open up and I'll just ask her a lot of questions. And she will definitely serve and add value to your life and make you smile and make your heart super happy. It'll be dancing. Okay, Annie Gibbins is a passionate, very passionate and purpose-driven fempreneur. I'm going to start using that. I'm a fempreneur, not an entrepreneur. I'm a fempreneur. Yeah. a CEO, global women's empowerment coach, podcast host, speaker, and #1 best-selling author. Her many professional accolades gained over 30 years forge across health, education, corporate, NFP. What is NFP?
Not for profit.
Great. NFP and charity sectors drives her to inspire and empower women across the globe to achieve success in business and life. Women from around the world are invited to access Annie's wisdom gained through decades of applying and probably a lot of pain and tragedy. Decades of applying proven life and business growth strategies. Her ways, the way she shares her knowledge and works with women to identify, tap into, and realize their own magic. The power, freedom, and confidence women gain shifts them from where they are now to where they dream to be. Welcome, Annie. I'm so grateful to have you.
Oh, such a delight to be with you today. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Now, when I was on your podcast, you shared a lot of what you started to do and things that you've done. I just kind of want to just start with you being married. You've been married for how long now?
I've been married for 34 years to my gorgeous hubby, James. So he, it was young love. He even went to my, final year 12 formal when I were at school, and then got married, engaged at 19, married at 20, just a week after I was 20. I wasn't allowed to get married as a teenager. So we got married a week after I was 20 and apparently all was fine then.
So that means you're how old, 29?
Yeah, pretty much. No, 54 this year. Wow, it's amazing.
You look hot here. Where's my fire? You look hot. That's my You look great. I can't wait to see you at 100. You'll look fantastic.
Well, we'll see what those, Russian genes, they might just keep me all, or Russian genes or a bit of vodka, whatever it does to ferment your body. I'm not too sure, but combination probably. My grandma's actually, one of my grandmas lived to 101 and the other one was 99. So, seriously, I tell my family that unless I get hit by a truck, you've got to be really kind to me because I will be here till the end.
I'm going to start. My mom's 96 years young, living independently in Washington, D.C. And I'm like, kids, I'm not going anywhere very soon.
Exactly.
And then you and your husband decided to have a family.
Yes. My
quickly. You wanted a family quickly.
Yeah, I went and said, hey, babe, we're in love, young love. I want to have 4 daughters. That was my plan. I love it when you're young and you just have all these ideas as if they'll just happen. Like, what delusions of grandeur do we have? And just like that total whatever. So I went, right, I'm going to have 4 girls. And he said, well, I've got 4 sisters, so we've probably got girls in the genes. So anyway, we went about, getting into it. And then finally when I was 23, I then had twin boys. Oh my gosh, I just stared at them and went, wow, I just couldn't have even imagined myself with 1 and 2 twin boys. Oh my gosh. So yeah, so we had twin boys and then we said, hey, I love it. Obviously we were still quite young and not watching enough TV. We went, let's just have 1 more. And because we're already crazy busy. And then 26 months later, we then had another set of twins. So we had twin boy girl. So then we had 4 kids in 26 months. Crazy. I was only 25 years old going, oh my gosh, and I must have just looked really young, Isabel, because I remember I was at home with these 4 kids just like everywhere, breastfeeding, baby on the boob, twin boys going feral. And this man came to the door to sell something. And as I opened the door, he asked if my mum was home. I'm like, hey fella, I am the mum, I'm in charge of this household. So yeah, and then I had my last bubba I had when I was 32. So 5 years later, we had 1 more girl. So I've got 3 sons, 2 daughters. They're now 30, 28, the twins, and my daughter's 22. And I've got 2 little granddaughters.
Oh,
fine. Yeah.
Are they in Australia?
They are. They're actually only 3 kilometers down the hill.
Oh.
I get to see them all the time. And oh my gosh, like just brings you back to that pure love, right?
Yes.
just divine. I just get so excited to see them. And yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh, beautiful. I hope when our girls, if they do decide to have kids, we get to live close, because I want to go in and spoil the kids.
I know. It's just the best.
And then, you know, not only were you a mom and a wife, then you decided to do what?
Well, to conquer all, right? You know, so my journey was a bit strange. That when I was young, I was always sort of groomed. I grew up in a family pharmacy business, so I was always told you're going to be a pharmacist and you're going to help, you know, your dad run the pharmacy and one day own the pharmacy. So it's just this predetermined life story. And I was like, oh, that's such a shame that I've got to be a pharmacist. Like, how boring for me just working in one little shop. It just wasn't doing it for this creative spirit that you can see as Annie. And I went, well, what do I want to do? I want to be a businesswoman. I want to make a difference. I want to, you know, make and create things. I want to have a purpose. So I always had that inner desire, but I thought it wasn't possible. So while I had my 4 kitties and I had a little moment, we've all had those moments of just crying, I thought I had more potential, but now, you know, and my husband's like, you're the best, babe. I'm like, I know I'm totally awesome, but like, I really thought I would just do these things. And then, you know, and I got up really just like, and I love my kitties to, you know, bits. It's not about that for the mums listening in. You can just want it all, right? And then I went, well, how do I do this journey? And so by default, when I finished school, my dad had 3 armed robberies in my final year. When you're putting down your name of what you want to do at university, I just went, I love him so much, but I don't want to die. So I didn't put down pharmacy. I put down nursing. So I became a nurse, and I was a fine nurse. Nothing wrong with nursing profession.
Oh, you would have been such a fun nurse.
I was a fun nurse.
Oh, you'd be my kind of nurse.
I'm like, what do we have here today? Oh, that's rather nasty. Let's deal with that. So I was a fine nurse. And then I went, okay, here I am as a nurse. I was supposed to be a pharmacist. I'm now a nurse. I'm now married to this gorgeous, hunky, gorgeous man. I love to death. I've got my 4 babies. Wow, what has happened with my life? And then I had this inner desire of, well, what, you know, how on earth could I, Annie Gibbins, this crazy life story, be a businesswoman? And then I went, well, I'll just do breadcrumbs and just, I chose this word. My word is curiosity. I became curious about what I could do, not what is probably my reality. So then I went and said stepping stone. So I then did a master's of education. So I became a nursing teacher. I became a head teacher of a nursing school. I went, well, that's pretty managerial. And my kids used to laugh when they were growing up, their whole childhood. I had a little post-it note on our fridge that says, Mum has higher level managerial skills. Just watch me. And they used to go, Mum, you don't have high level managerial skills. I went, I do. Look, I run you guys, you know, I'm running this nursing school. And it was a bit like that. It's like, let's have fun with this, right? Don't make it too crazy, because the craziness was, you know, if in the real world, I would have been male, I would have done an MBA out of school. I would have, you know, just done my career. So you can either whinge or go, well, that sucks, or you embrace your essence and go, well, what if? And so my journey of what if actually did exactly that. I became a head teacher of nursing school. I got my master's of education. I then became a national manager for the Australian Orthopaedic Association. I then dared to dream a bit more and then went, what if I could become a CEO of like a health organization? And so I did business courses, company directors, did all this stuff. I am a bit of a learning nerd. Who would have thought? And then I ended up getting a role as the Australasian Society for Ultrasound Medicine CEO, and I was there for 5 years. I then did a couple of years of consulting. I've been the CEO of Glaucoma Australia, which is an eye health charity, for the last 4.5 years, and I absolutely love it. And so I've got this crazy journey, and in there I also set up my own consulting business, because women used to start to go, Annie, how on earth did you do that? How do you make it look fun? How are you still smiling? How did you say, you know, get through all the naysayers? Because I've had a zillion naysayers.
And that's what I want to kind of just stop. All right, where's my stop? Where's my stop? I don't have a stop, but anyway, I usually have a stop on my lolly. Just stop for a moment. I want to backtrack, because I know what it's like to have big dreams. Okay. And when you voice them to the wrong people, it can kind of go. So what did you say to the naysayers? Because I know that you had naysayers. What did you say? Because the listeners have got naysayers. The listeners have big dreams, but they've got naysayers in the family, friends, workplace. Take it away.
You will have naysayers everywhere,
Yes.
everywhere, because no one really knows your true heart and what you're capable of. They don't know you. They have a perception of you, and that perception is based on who they are. And it could be because they actually don't believe you have the capacity, or maybe they do and you're a threat, or maybe you do and that makes them feel uncomfortable. There's so many factors. So once you get past all of that, you learn that really, if you're aligning your self-worth with someone else's approval, it's always going to be a negative outcome. It's going to be it's going to be a long time waiting to actually have the happiness and joy. And so I did have those naysayers when I became nursing, even when I went to become a head teacher of nursing. At interview, one of the ladies said to me, well, how are you going to be a good mom if you get this very important job? And I'm like, wow, talk about socket to my mama heart. Like,
yeah.
ooh. And I've had that many times. Oh, you seem to juggle so many things. How do your kids cope with that? How do your kids cope with you being so driven or whatever? It's always a negative. Or I'll then go, when I went back to university, well, do you really think you're able, capable? I don't know if you were seen as so academic during your schooling or whatever. It's this view of limiting. It's like this view of, I don't, and you're like going, wow, why is no one backing me? Even my gorgeous hubby, like, who just was my biggest fan, and he'll have a giggle and he says it regularly. When I went from being a head teacher of nursing, that at the time people went, you've got your best job ever. You should just be, why aren't you satisfied? And I'm like, wow, I love my job. I am awesome at it. But what if there's more? And they're like going, no, Annie, you've reached, when you reach the top of your tree, you should be happy there. And it was a really weird thing that I was happy. That was the funny thing. I have been happy doing everything but I always had this view of, but what if there's more? What is potential? And then even when I went for the orthopedic surgeon job, I had all these people going, why are you even applying for these things? And the same journey happened. Why did I apply for a CEO job? Are you kidding yourself? You don't have. And then so a bombshell went, when you have those aha moments.
Yes, yes.
It was this moment of, right, okay, everyone says I can't all the time, but I had that even when I had the twins. How are you going to cope? Well, you just cope. What do? Give them back?
I know.
You find ways, you get creative, you get the sneak cheats, you realize that, geez, the lesson number one is don't be a perfectionist, because it's all going to go south from there. You realize that you can have fun with things, make it humorous, challenge yourself. In the early days, I used to actually be driven by prove them wrong. Now I actually just do prove my potential, do it for me. I don't have to. I don't need validation from anyone. I'm actually in that other space, which you can do. And all of this journey is stepping stones to your own self-actualization, right? But back in the day, those listening in, because you're craving it. I'm currently coaching a number of people who go, why don't they see me? And I go, exactly, they should. You're awesome. It's not what you would like. It is lovely. Who doesn't love the warm and fuzzies, right? When someone when you're not expecting it, tells you how awesome you are and how you're so worth, you apply for this and do that. Everyone loves it. So human nature is to love approval. But when you actually find that deep driver and that purpose, you go, I'm doing it because it's important to me. Your world will change because you don't need that approval anymore. So then I had this mindset shift of approval is an extra blessing, right? I love it.
Yeah.
However, but I'm not going to depend on it. If I'm depending on it, I'm not going to do what I want to do. I'd still be waiting, right? I'd still be doing my old job. And there's nothing wrong with anyone at any stage of their life, whatever job you're doing. It's not about that. It's actually just going, what's in your inner heart. And the more and more I speak with people, Isabel, is that those little things in your childhood, which really, they're innate qualities in you. You just, you lead, you love people, you're creative, you're an innovator, you've got these little, we've all got quirky ways. Some people are great artists. They just, they're musicians. They just see things in different ways. Everyone has gifts and talents. And it really is that core nature that you want to, now I spend my whole time scaling that up, lead with your strengths and just max out on them, and then keep working at the little bits, but don't get bogged down by them. And definitely for the naysayers, I think you get some options. You either go and say, thank you for that. However, I'm really confident I'm moving on in this direction anyway. You don't have to be rude to them. Or you could actually play the game, go, well, let's just wager a little bit on that. Let's see how I go. Because I'd be a bit more like that. Or
that's totally me. I would say when people, and I still do it. I go, well, yeah, exactly. I go, I inside myself, I don't speak this out, but I'm sure the energy is picked up and it's translated into words. I'm inside going, we'll see about that. And I just go for it. And I agree with you. People, you can't wait. We've got way too much to do. We can't wait for people to approve. And when they do approve, people are so fickle. They change like that. And we can't just wait for people to give us approval. We got to know in our hearts, this is the right thing to do for the world. And it's going to serve and add value. And I love that you're there and you want people to go to their next level. And I just wanted to say before we continue, you're an eagle. And eagles fly, and eagles go high, and you want to go high. I get that, and I applaud that.
Oh, thank you so much. That is, it's like soaring, right? I've even got that on my webpage. I'll be your wings, until you're ready to soar. That's actually on my webpage, and that's exactly what it is. Because I've always had that view of, I am very strategic. I've always seen things. I've seen big visions. I've actually gone, like, even at the moment, I'm running this eye health charity, and they had their goal for the first year. Like, let's see if we can earn 70,000 or 100,000. And I then put my emails out going, who's committed to raising $1 million to save sight in this country? So I'm just like, why claim something small, right? Let's just go, maybe $1 million's limited, who's to say? But this view of, if you are a soarer, if you are someone who just needs to, find new pastures, see opportunities, some of it's just fascinating. It's not always just to make more money or to get a better title. It actually is just fun. How many times do you want to learn an instrument, learn a language, just meet people? I'm building lots of online programs at the moment. I'm becoming all techie. And actually, I love it. If people say to you, you could outsource that, I go, yeah, I know, but I actually like the learning. So you do things for different reasons. And at the core of this conversation is, what are your reasons? Knowing your reasons, knowing your values, knowing what drives you, knowing what you actually want to achieve from it. Because that's how we measure our success. We should be measuring success on our own terms. And if you don't know what those terms are, then how do you measure it? You're always then swaying in the wind, waiting for someone else to measure it. Well, who are these people anyway? That's one thing I wanted to share with you too. I've often thought, while you're waiting, when you're waiting for that approval that we were talking about before, when you finally get it, well, who are those people anyway? Have they done what you wanted to do? Have they been in your space before you? They're the people I wait for their, I want to know what their approval is, or their support of me. I want to know, because they've actually trodden in those steps. They know what you're wanting truly. Mm-hmm. Everyone else just has an opinion, and
I know.
They don't even know what you're talking about anyway.
I know. And they have opinions and recommendations for, like, you don't even get me,
I know, exactly.
Are you okay? Are you okay over there?
Yeah, I just plugged my battery in. Sorry about that. Just had a little bit of a.
We don't want you to sign off. Oh, Annie, you're so funny. And I'm the same way. Let's go for 1 million. Let's go for 1 billion. Let's just go. And if you reach it, great. But if you reach small, then you
reach small, you get small, right? You get what you ask for. I tell people all the time, don't ask for what you expect, because let's face it, you're not expecting very much. You're really not, right? When you first start off, expect what ask for what you dream. An example of this, Isabel, is when I became CEO of Glaucoma Australia, I then went and said, okay, well, we need some really high profile people to be our patrons and ambassadors. You got to get cheerleaders, you got to get people on your team. So anyway, we ended up getting, so it's kind of like, well, who do we know? Who do we know? Anyway, I ended up getting the Governor General of Australia. Like, it doesn't get higher in the land. And we've got in excess saxophone player Kirk Pengilly, who's pretty darn cool. He has glaucoma. Now, why did we get those people? Because I actually went and said, I didn't go and say, pretty please, whatever. I'm like, to the Governor General, I actually went and said, sir, do you want to help me save sight in Australia? Do you want to help be a part of saving people with preventable blindness? And like, who's going to say no to that, right? They want to have passion, they want to have purpose, they want to know that they have a difference. Kirk is the same thing. You have glaucoma, you have incredible reach. If I've got a campaign, I'll reach 100,000 people. I put him on board, we reach 12 million. And I go, so why wouldn't you use this opportunity if it's real? If it's not real, then I don't want to know. I don't want to miss the line. But if you're totally in that space and you have an opportunity, so not only is this conversation about reaching your own potential, it's actually doing that not just from self, it's from collaborations, it's from aligning with other people, because then you get my favorite word, Isabel, which is synergy. Synergy, those listening in, synergy is when the sum of the parts, you just explode the value of the sum of the parts. You suddenly go, wow, one person can only do so much, but you just get an army of believers. And that's what I'm doing with my global tribe now of women, just believing in themselves, making a difference, encouraging, collaborating over competing. And it just makes a world of difference.
I love that. And at the end of this, we'll let everybody know where they can reach you. Okay. Whoops, you froze there for a second, but wow, we're like
sorry, Australian internet. What can you do?
We're like a palm in the hurricane. We bend, but we don't break. Now, Annie, on a serious note about you becoming an overcomer, I mean, just to kind of just get back to life happening.
Yeah.
You said that it was okay for me to bring up an ugly, messy, scary time in your life when you were about 11 and also when you were 15. I love interviewing overcomers, and you were so young when this happened to you, and yet you're such an eagle, and I love you. I love your spirit. I always want to know you for the rest of my life because you're me, you're the type of person I am. And I like surrounding myself with people like that. Do you mind sharing with people what you had to go through, what happened to you and how you overcame?
Yeah, sure. So when I was 11, so just that bridge time between primary school and high school, I was being babysat by a family relative, and I ended up having a situation of he it started off that, I've been given a camera, can I take photos of you, and then making me taking more and more clothes off, and ended up in rape, and then totally devastating situation, because all of my it's that, do you tell your mom? Surely they would notice. I then became, I think for anyone looking, I find it hard to believe that you wouldn't notice, in your room all the time, not coming out, not eating, spiraled in within 6 months of anorexia. I then had that eating disorder for the next probably 3 or 4 years. And, my whole world changed, because I was that, you can imagine me as a young girl, right? Bubbly, bright, fun, everything's possible, everything's funny, to then go, I just feel so lost in, why wouldn't people know that I'm hurting here? I didn't know who to tell. When I went to high school, I then went and told one of the counselors, who told me that I shouldn't be making up stories.
Oh, Annie.
Very, very dangerous. And this is very attention seeking. And I needed to learn how to make friends in high school, my own, in a healthy way. And it was like the first person and the only person that I then reached out to tell just went, why would you be such a horrible girl? And it was just really just so shattering. It was just so shattering. On, like, still makes me cry at 54. Your tears are always just there. And so, you know, the family didn't know. He then went and said, you tell anyone, I will kill you. So I just had this, wow, like, not just hurt you, kill you. And I'm thinking, after what I'd been through, I'm like, I just, yeah. And then it also linked to weight, you know, because we're being, you know, so obviously I was always a chubby little kid. And, you know, even having this photographic element, it was like, you know, not only will I kill you, I'll show people photos of you. And like, you're thinking now, if you're showing photos of that, how did you get them? But you don't think on that level when you're
Right.
11. It's like,
No.
oh my God. And that was my worst fear. It's like, wow, imagine if everyone saw how fat I was and chubby I was, and like, as if that's the problem, right? How mental is that? But that's the reality of an 11-year-old who's just devastated, shattered, is embarrassed about herself. Obviously, then the effects of that is then you just go, I don't, you know, that probably triggered the anorexia as well as the trauma, multiple facets, are probably a textbook case. And so that then ended up, I was like top of my class in year 6 to the bottom of my class in year 7. Like, I just look at this sort of narrative going, wow, if that was someone I knew, someone of my daughters, like, what are the many red flags that you're not seeing? Sometimes you don't, but my situation, I'm thinking they should have had so many red flags. And so, yeah, that was really painful. And then at 15, this same relative had a party and invited all of his friends, lots of alcohol, no supervision. My family didn't have any supervision really, rules. And I ended up getting raped again by a number of people.
Annie.
In just a neighbor's yard. So then it was like where I live, like, this is not like my whole sense of in my house, I can't trust anybody. And then, yeah. And then at the same time in all of this story, my mum was telling me I had to go and get on so it took me to a doctor to put me on the pill, because I would probably be one of these people who would sleep around, like had this really weird view of me. And I'm like going, wow, why I'm going to a doctor to get put on a pill when I'm not sleeping around. This was at about age 15 or 16. She obviously thought I was a bit loopy then. Obviously I probably was. And so I just had this no support. And eventually I told her, of course, she told me that I was ruining her family, that I was a liar. I've always been a liar. A lot of blanket statements. I'm manipulative. I'm out for myself. I've destroyed her family, whatever. And so I then took that in my early 20s to, I have to be the good girl. I have to be a better person. I have to, you know, so it was this, probably did drive a lot of that overachievement stuff, to be honest, you know, of I have to be good enough. What if I do this and this and this, when I wanted to do it, and all the stuff we talked about before, but also that combination of, well, you know, what would it take for them to go, she's not this person they think she is? Like, how can you be called a liar and a manipulator and this horrible person who's trying to break up families? Whereas, like, it just doesn't even compute. So maybe, you know, if I'm the best mom, I've got a gorgeous family, gorgeous hubby, career woman, got all this stuff, and yes, on paper it's amazing and I love every bit of it, but also I don't have to do that to get my worth. That's why I run programs on self-love and self-care, and that's actually the basis, even all the way to C-suite achievement. Actually, you know, there were so many women exactly like me, actually, you know, as you understand, who just below the surface of the perfect is tears of, wow, this trauma. And people have had traumas, you know, and my story unfortunately is not uncommon. And there's so much worse, but it's not a competition. It's like really shitty things happen in life which are not your fault, that people should be aware of and responsible. And this is how we create change, by having these conversations, to actually bring it to the forefront, to actually go, you know, how many, I would have spent years going, I hope no one would ever know. And now I go, well, why am I the victim? You know, why am I worried about them or their response? You know, it is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable having these conversations, but we need to have them because it affects so much of your life, you know.
And we know that the trouble ends. We know eventually the trouble ends, but the trauma lasts a long
yes.
time.
Yes.
And that's what you have to deal with, is that trauma. And that's what a lot of women are dealing with. You know, we look great on the outside, but deep down inside, stuff has happened, you know.
Oh, trauma is huge. And how do you respond? And life is complex. It's not just you know. So my scenario was, then I suddenly had these little twinnies, right? And so we're at a family picnic and I've got my kids. Now I've got 4 kids, like, my twin boys are running this direction and I'm trying to feed one. And, it's a stressful situation anyway. Plus I'm then out of the corner of my eye watching safety.
Sure.
I'm feeling really unsafe. And then I'm seeing this person near them and around them and then touching, playing with them. And I just lost it. So I put up with this. I self-sacrificed, I'd say, for a good, decade in there of, I'll try not to be the problem. I'll, make sure everything is okay. And then I lost it at this because it actually went to my core mother heart of, I don't even care. You're not going to ever do anything that's going to stress or upset or cause trauma to my children. So I picked up my kids. I had the tantrum. Everyone in the family was outraged of my behavior. Because they didn't know. You don't go and talk about this. You just go, oh, she's she thinks she's super mum and her kids, she's too precious for everybody, or whatever their impression was. And I went back and I said, look, sorry, I'm not going to those family picnics anymore. I'd love to see all the people individually or whatever. I've actually got to own my own space. I'm now a mum of a family. I have to protect my own kids, and I actually have to then start valuing myself. And unfortunately, still, I left myself later. I went to therapy later over it, and the therapist went, oh my God, and we can always go, yeah, that would have saved me a decade of pain if I'd done this.
Yeah.
How many times we rip ourselves up about that? But eventually that was my true learning, that you go, yeah, it's not fair. And it is sad. It is sad that I have these disconnected relationships with people. It is sad that they've got these perceptions of me that are not true. Things can be sad. But that doesn't mean that you therefore have to bend for that. So someone else's view of what they're wanting and they're dealing with will make it okay. Because that is a very messy space that people can spend decades in. And at the end of the day, no one wins, And so for me, it has actually been a really hard journey. But I've ended up making it the fuel to go, well, okay, I can only live my best life. I can be the best version of myself, and I will have many flaws and I'll have many failures, but I'll learn from them and I'll giggle my way through them, and I'll put challenges and use my own quirky ways of dealing with those. And I will speak out about domestic violence, and I will speak out about women getting abused, and I will empower women globally to own their self, own their space, step up, stand out. Not everyone has to share their story, but I believe every woman needs to know their own worth, and love themselves for who they are. And this culture, this secret culture, which I grew up in the 80s, was secret culture. You never, imagine if anyone knew your business. That culture meant that all these people who've suffered trauma were never heard, never loved, never supported, were incredibly lonely and isolated. And the damage of that is just, it goes on for decades. That's right. You can move on in different ways of therapy, but that's right. But the lasting effects of the trauma are always, just at the surface. And it's very challenging. So I thank you for the opportunity to
well, because that's what it's about. Everybody has a story, and I love the fact that you've made the mess that you were thrown into a message of hope, which is, I love that you just decided, I am taking hold of my life, and I am not going that way. I'm going this way because this is the right way for me. And I don't care what other people say. I want to ask you, are you talking to your mother? Are you talking to your father? I mean, how's that relationship?
Well, my father was my absolute rock. He ended up, probably in my early 30s, we had the open conversation, and he went and said, I don't understand it. I can't process it, but I believe you. And I believe this is real to you. So he didn't actually go, I believe the situation. Believe me, when someone goes, I believe you're suffering, whatever, you go, oh, that's kind of not quite there. But his heart was there, his kids were there. And that's what I even said, it's kind of like, even if you don't believe the story, then obviously then the next level down is that I'm actually mentally unwell, which you actually think I am. So surely you would even have compassion for that. and then you go, you're telling lies, right? So I actually saw it in many levels. So he actually did, but then he went and said, your mother can't cope with this kind of pressure. She could end up jumping off the gap, we call it, this big, whatever. And I'm like, wow. So you're telling me if I stress my mother, she will suicide over something like this? Like, what's with that? So, so my dad ended up passing with a brain tumor 5 years ago, and so that was really sad. My mum, she hasn't spoken to me for a couple 2 or 3 years. We went to a therapy session over it just to have some closure, just to send some very minimum little rules of what would work. And I find that incredibly sad. It's sad on many levels, but I also go, but I've waited a lifetime, and it's not hard. You're never, with family, it's never a never, or if you actually came back and went and said, that's right, don't even have to believe the story, but I love you for who you are. And if this is your journey, then I still, have love for you. And I would love her to be involved in my kids' lives and have that.
But she's not.
But she's not, no. Yeah. So, well, interestingly, she's involved in my son's lives, but not my daughter's lives. So there's probably a complex girl thing happening there. I don't know. So my 2 daughters don't see her, but my sons do. So, but I've never had that view of don't see your grandma. Like, you should have a relationship with her. You make your own decisions in life, and she's your grandma. So and the kids have been surprised by that, going, Mom, when you know how, whatever. And I went, no, I'm not that person. I actually just go, it's just sad, and there's loss. There's actually more loss from her side, because I'm a busy, happy person. I've got heaps happening. I actually wish you would get to enjoy that. But sometimes people can't, get out of their positioning, right? They back themselves into a position, and it's like to the death.
I know, to the death. Yeah.
To the death. And that's what it is. Like, and I go, wow, it's actually really sad, because if that was me, I would just be, I would never want to be out of relationship with any of my kids, for whatever the situation. And as we know, life gets messy. They're already having their own situations in their 20s. And so, life's not fair. And then what is fair anyway? What's our expectation? What's our entitlement? No one said there were any promises with it. People will have stuff, but it's about journeying through it and being there for people, and a default belief that 99% of people are honest and true. If they're coming to you with a traumatic situation, they're not doing it just for the fun of it. There's no joy. Even the reality of my story, why would a high profile CEO running a business, whatever, my whole branding is on that, why would I then have a negative story that's actually quite unpleasant? Like, wow, I'm finding it hard to find the value as there. That's I don't, so it's I think relationships are complex, as you know. So there is a complex, there's no recipe for it. So people who are listening in who go, yeah, like, that's right, there is, if you're in that situation and go, well, what do I do? All I can tell you is, after journeying through these complex situations, you can only do your best at the time, not to beat yourself up, but if you're self-sacrificing your health, your physical health, your mental health, and the risk of those that you love being harmed, there is no grounds for movement there. You just got to claim. It's like you've got to plant your flag and go and say, okay, this is, and then spend your time then finding out who you are in your essence. It's not that person you even were when you were that young girl, that at that time of that trauma, at that time when these people were naysayers and upset you. Who are you now?
Right. And who do you want to be?
And who do you want to be? And that's where where are you now? And where do you dream to be? I actually go, you take good things from the past. It's not throwing everything out. There's awesome things there. There's awesome learnings. But basically, it's gone. Like, the past is gone. The future is a possibility. I want to dream big dreams. I always want to be continuing to grow and to fun, explore, joy. And so to be that person, to be that next step, the next step of my Annie What If is everyone else, your listeners, what's their next step? Well, to be that person, you have to be, is the sum of your todays. It's not your past, it's your todays. What you do today and tomorrow and the next day will create that future. So therefore, the necessity to actually, know who you are, know your values, know what you align with, know what you're passionate about, let it drive you, have fun. If you're not having moments of just, excitement. What actually, when we talk, you get into a topic and your energy level goes up, right? You're
Right.
woohooing, you're focused. You love the focus. When you love doing something, it doesn't matter what it is, the time goes, you're in the moment, so we need to spend more time focusing on that, and then extending that into, it might be a business, it might just be who you are, it might be who you are as a mom, might be who you are, as a philanthropist or as an environmentalist or whatever it is. Everyone's going to have their passion thing, right? And it shouldn't, for my view, equate with money. I think it goes, it's beneath that. Sometimes you can get your passion to be, your work, and you get that win-win, but you don't always have to. I think if not everyone's deep core passion will work out that way, or it might eventually. It can take a very long time, but I think everyone has that core desires of what makes them tick and what makes them happy.
Absolutely.
And I'm all into happiness and joy.
Yes, and you will be there.
Might as well be having fun along the way.
I can see you at 100. You got another, let's see, you got another 46 years before you hit there. So I like the way that you've just course corrected and say, I'm going this way. I just wanted to say to the listeners that something that I've learned, and I'm sure you've learned too, is the art of forgiveness. And making sure that, hey, you know what? I forgive you that you don't get me. I forgive you that you hurt me. But you know what? I'm not going to allow you to continue to do that to me. I have the right to forgive you, but I also have the right to not continue talking to you or seeing you. Yes, I'll be respectful to you. If I have to see you, I will be respectful and loving. I won't not do CPR on you if you're having a heart attack, in the middle of the road. I will be a human being to you, but I don't have to talk to you, and I don't have to listen to you, and I forgive you. And I have to forgive people so many times. I know that I need to continue forgiving people when I see them or I hear them or I see their name and my back just goes like this. I'm like, yeah, I still have to forgive you. So I forgive them. And that's a power. That's a power that we all have, is forgiveness. And another thing I also teach is putting a fence up. Make sure you put a fence around your heart, and make sure you tap in the posts so that people's anger and frustration and meanness and just yuckiness does not bleed into your heart. But we've got to remember, all of us have to remember that there's a fence out there that we've got to put up, because if not, if there's no fence, people's junk will just go straight into us. So yeah, exactly. It's like, come in.
Exactly. And also in a way of, if you're just a lovely person, people will take advantage of you. For those people listening in, and then you always go, yes, your default is, oh yes, I can help you. Yes. And why? Because I don't want to be a bad person. I want to be known as being kind, all that sort of stuff. People will take advantage of you. And I don't blame them. If you've got someone who's always saying yes to you, or always lets you get away with things, people will be opportunistic and taking what they can. It is very much exactly what you said, Isabel. It's about saying I know, for me, in my world of coaching, I talk about driving in your lane. I know what my lane is. I know what the perimeters of it are, and then someone else is in their next lane. I align with people who are in that same sort of space. But if someone comes crashing into my lane, I know it. It's like, because I know what my boundaries are. I know what I'm stand for, or whatever. And so I don't hate them. I just go and say, oh, sorry, unfortunately I'm unavailable.
Yeah, get out of here.
Yeah, but my inner Annie is like, get out of here. This is my lane, right? But also, that's exactly it. You don't need to be rude, but you don't need to say yes to everything. And and if you do, you're actually, you're robbing the world from seeing the essence of you. Because while you're doing all of that, while you're getting distracted and crowded, and we're all just overcrowded by stuff, you lose your ability to focus on that matter. They're robbing your time and your energy for really good things. And this isn't just selfish. It's not just so that you get everything you want. It's actually so that you can do and then give and be the person you want to be. Mm-hmm. That forgiveness is true. That's where that saying, forgive, but you don't have to forget, right? Forgiveness just gives you that release, and it is amazing. And it's like, and do you want to forgive them? No. They have stolen your heart and ripped it into a million pieces. But while you carry that, they still have power.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment you actually just go and say, okay, I forgive it. I don't know what was happening in that person's life. And I actually even go and say, you know, okay, we're done. But you don't then need to, you learn from that. You don't then have to carry that on, accept new things, put yourself in their space. No way. Why would you? It would be crazy. It's stupid.
I know. And it's not, let's, segue into self-love, what I want to ask you what the definition of self-love is, and saying yes to everything is not self-love. It's not protecting yourself, So
No.
With that, I open the door for you to teach us about self-love, because, we're not taught to be loved. We're not taught to love ourselves, That's like very egotistical. And
oh yeah. Well, you remember when you were a little kid and they're going, oh, you just love yourself. It's just like this negative thing, and no one, particularly little girls too, you're always told to be good, be giving to other people, to be generous to other people. It's not about you. You're quiet and not heard, so it's a very shrinking concept. And self-love to me is the ability to actually, it's to actually be the authentic version of who you're born to be. I believe that everyone on this planet is born for a reason. They all have unique, authentic gifts and talents and skills and hearts and things that make them tick. And we're all quirky and weird once we all, really untap that. And it's awesome, right? And so self-love is actually about saying, it's not, that I think Catherine Hepburn had that comment of, it's not selfish. It's, it's not a luxury. It's a necessity, self-love. And that is absolutely right. Self-love is actually going, okay, well, if I was given this body, this being, how do I love and nurture it, her, self, to the best of my ability to get the best out of it? If I, even if I thought from a marketing perspective, I bought a new product, what do I want to do? I want to polish it, shine it, feed it, nurture it, look after it. I want it to be the best that it is. So why do we not treat ourselves that way? If we, I think of that day that my babies were born and you've just got this little being, and what does your mama heart want? You want to go, I want you to be the happiest person. I want you to be joyful. I want you to be satisfied. I want you to be content. I want you to be exploring the things that whoever you little unique human being are, I want you to love and nurture that. Like anyone would say that. And then something happens when we then get these naysayers and we get chipped away and we get told different messages, and we have
or the tall poppy syndrome. Do you have the tall poppy syndrome?
We have such a tall poppy syndrome.
New Zealand is amazing.
We have such a tall poppy syndrome in Australia. That's why most of my clients are in the US. US chicks love empowerment queens. It's like Annie Gibbins, she's the empowerment coach globally. They love all that stuff. And Australians are like, and how did you get called the transformation queen? Like what, you can just see their little faces scrunch up. Like, why? Because it doesn't make you feel comfortable. We're in a culture of everyone's okay. And we really like everyone to be the same, in the same sort of pond, so that we don't feel discomfort. Right. Whereas American culture is a lot more, it's military, be the best, honor yourself, whatever. Like we're generalizing here, but it's really quite different. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Whatever. So self-love to me is actually saying, yeah, that's right. So therefore, if I love myself in my true essence, it's about saying that. It's about having those conversations to myself. Annie, I love the way that you've got these strengths. I love the way that you want to empower women. I love the way that you've turned, these traumas to make it your life purpose to empower others. I love your crazy ways. And when other people go, you're a bit mental, aren't you? I go, yeah, I love it. I love myself by not comparing myself constantly, because if I'm comparing myself, I'm spending so much time wanting to be someone else, and I've got no idea about their 95% story behind whatever they're trying to portray. If I'm on Instagram or fake, most of it is airbrushed and fake. People are showing you their very best version of one aspect of their life. Why would I compare with that? So I'm self-loving myself in that way by choosing not to compare, to stay in my lane and to build my own self. I'm self-loving myself by eating well and being healthy.
Yes, sleeping well.
healthy foods, exercising. I've become a trekker. I climb mountains. I push myself physically. I want to go, particularly in this stage of early menopause. Woo! But, I'm wanting to make sure that my little crazy hormones are in their best shape ever, because my body's going haywire, but it will be better. I'll get the best version of myself by. That's right. Sleeping well, having time to myself, to explore things that I'm doing, to nurture my essence, if you like. Because when I do all of that, and we can go on and on. I'm currently having a month of self-love on my platform, actually. So anyone who wants to reach out to me, just come and join. It's free. It's a month of self-love. Just follow my socials, and it will give you inspirations every day. There's no limit to how you can love yourself. And what you'll realize when you start unpacking this journey is actually just going, hello me, who am I, and why don't I actually, if I treat myself the best that I can, in all aspects, physically, spiritually, emotionally, what comes into my little lane, what stays out, knowing what I value, and all of that, then I'm then able to be this best version to then go and do those things. You're a better blessing on the planet. You then get to, you have all that energy and time and focus to make a difference. Not everyone has to be a huge legacy maker, but, everyone has the opportunity to then go and give a gift to a neighbor, say some nice words, come out with a positive words of affirmation for someone else, help them on their day, give to a charity that they love, do these things that we want to do, and I feel like the whole planet, when you actually focus on self-love, you'll realize that it absolutely is the core of everything,
And self-love is not selfish. That's just one thing that we've got to understand.
Selfish.
What is selfish is when you don't take care of yourself, then your glass is empty and you don't have anything to give to people. People need other people, but if you're not full, of a full glass, I'm just using that metaphor, then you don't have anything to give.
You have nothing to give. Plus, you rob other people, you crave, because if you're not giving it to yourself, you also then crave off other people. And that's why other people suck stuff off you, because they're desperate. They actually have that in themselves. They're looking for the other vices, the shopping, the sex, the demanding behaviors on other people to actually fill their lack of self-love. That's pretty selfish. Right.
And I think that's something that we really need to start teaching more of, and encouraging and empowering people, is self-love is not selfish. Self-love. Like if I had a prescription right now, I'd write prescription self-love. Just do it for an hour every day, whatever it is, or a half an hour or 10 minutes, or, like for me, for me, being in the car, when I'm in the car, I only listen to positive things, because I don't even watch the news. For me, not watching the news is self-love. My mom is like, how can you not be watching the news? You've got to know what's happening. Mom, if it's bad enough, I will be told. I'm practicing self-love by not listening to the news, so it's okay.
And when you start your day doing that, it influences the rest of your day. If you wake up and instead of going straight to the phone and checking out how amazing everybody else is, if you actually just get up, have a little moment, think of those people that you love and adore, go to the mirror and go, oh, that's right, I'm thankful that I've got these, healthy features or something nice. Say a nice affirmation, Isabel, you're going to have this great day interviewing Annie Gibbins today. You go, girl. I love what you're doing. You say nice things to yourself. You think about who you're surrounding yourself with, who's actually bringing, the right kind of energy and love into your space, and then that's right, look at your day. Have you actually spent a little bit of time on exercising, stretching? What did you cook? It doesn't have to be super amazing. It's not about perfectionism. It's like, oh well, I just ate this bio-organic thing over lunch and I did this and I spent all these hours cooking. Like, no one's going to do that. It's not setting yourself up for unattainable outcomes. It actually is saying, if you have this flow of self-love through, and it can start with 5 minutes. You can start with 5 minutes a day. Just go, I've never really thought about this concept, I'm just going to put in 5 minutes. You can say an affirmation, you can make a choice on what goes on your sandwich. You can choose to have some mindful moments and actually stop and smell a rose. You know, you can choose to say some nice words in someone's day. In 5 minutes, you can make such a difference. And imagine then just start stretching that out in your day.
Yes.
It's incredible. It is life-changing, you know, and it's so opposite to selfish. It's crazy, you know.
Yes.
These are the world shakers, the change managers are actually usually using a lot of self-love principles, you know. Don't look busy and rushed and selfish. They're actually just in their own space being themselves, right? You know, when you just look at some people and you just go, they've got their own brand, their own style. It's because they've actually claimed it. They know it. And that is, you don't want a whole wall of versions. You know, we don't want a zillion Isabels or Annies, you know, just be yourself.
I don't think the world could handle a lot of Isabel. Annie, I want to ask you one last thing, and that is, where can everybody find you?
Oh, I am so easy to find, Isabel. So thank you for asking that question. Go to AnnieGibbins with an I.com, and you'll find I have 2 coaching programs actually that are full programs. One's called Make Magic Personally and one's Make Magic Professionally, because that's what we do. We can make magic happen, believe in the impossible, and it will happen. And then I've also got a whole lot of little short courses. All my social you'll find there as well. So just go to AnnieGibbins.com. Also come and join me for a month of self-love. How timely, you know.
Yes.
And that's the cool thing, you know, when people think they missed something, doesn't matter, drop in at the middle of the month and just take it for the next month, right? Like,
that's right. Great idea.
Never miss in life. You just say, I'm ready at this moment and I'm going to get on the right train and see where it takes me, right? And then you'll then create your own lane and
it's
go nuts.
it's all about course correcting. Just course correct every day. Okay, I'm going that way. If you get off course, because they say when the astronauts are on the way to the moon or Mars or something, they're only on course 3% of that course is they're actually towards their target. 97% of the time they're off course. And that's because NASA is course correcting them constantly. It's like an everyday thing. So that's why I always say course correct.
I love that. I love that, Isabel, because that's exactly it. I call it adjusting to the wind, right? When you don't usually go from A to B, you get blown, right?
Yes.
Life blows you. Even pilots, that's right, will get blown off course. They're course correcting.
Yeah.
And so people often think that. That's right, Annie. How do you go from 18 to go? Well, can't you then just be a businesswoman? No, you know. Unfortunately, I had a lot of wind in there. I had to navigate 5 kiddies, 3 degrees, life, trauma, crazy shit. And then I went, but eventually, but you know what? If you know your destination, you don't even have to know the exact destination. You just need to know what it kind of would look like, what it would feel like. It's got to be a strong magnet. And then you will actually get there because you're course correct. If you don't know what you want,
then you're not going to get there.
We're going to end up in Italy or somewhere.
Oh, that sounds pretty good.
That does sound good.
I want the listeners to know that all of Annie's connections will be in the show notes below. Okay. Annie, thank you so much for being with us here at the MD and Chef team. You've been so much fun. I'm sure we'll be together again.
Oh, most definitely. And so listeners, make sure you plan to win. Make sure you then prepare to win. Make sure you expect to win in your own way. And so, Beautiful. Go and have an awesome day. It's been so fun connecting with you today, Isabel.
Thank you. And thank you, listeners, for joining me. I'm Dr. Isabel. You know that, here at the MD and Chef team. And just go out there and share that gorgeous smile of yours in the world. And self-love, okay? Do something for yourself. Fill yourself up so that you can share it with the world, okay? Because if you're half empty, guess what? You won't have much to give. Right, Annie?
100%. 100%.
Remain unstoppable.
Be a glass overflowing.
Yes, be an overflowing glass. Go fill up somebody else's glass because you're overflowing.
Simply.
Why not? All right, go out there and remain unstoppable. You guys take care. Bye-bye.